Okay, welcome back. Just fancied having a bash at 1/72 scale model again. I quite enjoyed the Jet Provost build that I did. In fact, I really enjoyed building that Jet Provost, and I particularly like this colour scheme. And this is you can't get this kit, I don't think, anymore. You certainly can, but you can't get them from Airfix. This came from eBay. I think it cost me £15. But what's good about this kit is you get two kits in one box. So you get the first iteration of the BAE Hawk, which was built in 1974. That's when it first flew, I guess, or whatever. And the last one, which was 2019. So they're both the same aircraft, but they're different colour schemes. One's all black with a very nice gold trim all over it. It's quite pretty. And then you've got this traditional white, black, and white, red, and grey scheme. So I like them both really. So I'm going to build them both. So this is the actual colour schemes you get with the kit. You get the decals to go with it, obviously. So that's the traditional colour scheme. And I really like doing this because it's quite fun to mask and everything, paint up and stuff. I'll put a link to the Jet Provost that I did. You can see what I mean. And then that's the all black one. And the logo on the back, on the tail's lovely. Got a decal sheet here somewhere. You can find it. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the decal that goes onto the fin. It's really nice. I tried doing another Hawk once. It was the charity one, and it had a nice big circular roundel underneath with a heart shape in it. Then it had all the decal that came down the fin along here, but the decal didn't fit properly. So I ended up trashing the decal and just threw the model away because it just didn't look right. So I've started again with these two, and this will be relatively easy to build. This is just basically black. So I'm going to build them both at the same time, but I won't show filming both of them at the same time. I might show both when it comes to actually painting it and putting the decals and stuff, but not when I'm building it because it's just going to be identical, isn't it? So I'll show building one of them, which will probably be this one. And there we go. So footage to follow. Okay, this is the kit. There's not much to it really. You got 4 sprues. All the parts are needed for the kit apart from these bits here, which are for the ground attack version of the aircraft, I think, because it's got like a gun pod, which they don't have on this model. So that bit isn't used, so that can go in the bin. The rest of it, yeah, I'll need to build it. So you've got a very simple structure really. You've just got a little cockpit. So you get a pilot. You only get one pilot though. I don't do pilots much, to be fair. I tend to find they're a little bit. I can't paint them this small. I don't find them very. I like to, when I build a model, I like to build it so that when you photograph it, if you get the lighting right and the photography right, it can almost look real. I try and do that. I'm not sure I can do it all the time. But as soon as you put a pilot in like this, I don't care how well you paint it, it takes away that illusion that it's a real aircraft because they just don't look real. So I don't like those either. I don't do aircraft in flight particularly either, so I don't need pilots for that. So yeah, I'm not going to build it any more than out of the box really. I can't see any reason why I need to modify anything on this. The seats, you could embellish the seats a little bit. I'm not sure what else you could do. The jet pipe, I could make a metal one. Do I need to do that? I don't think so. Everything else is just out of the box, so let's get cracking. I'll start off with the usual principle of building the cockpit first, which is very easy. It's just these component parts. It does need a bit of weight in the nose. It needs 5 grams of weight in it, so it'll end up being a tail sitter, which we don't want to happen. You need to decide if you're going to put the undercarriage down at first or up or not, because it's got a cover on it. It's going to have undercarriage on it, on both of them. And it's such an easy model to build really. The fun part of anything at this scale, I think at almost every scale, is the painting of it really. I'm not going to embellish the cockpit too much because you can't really. Well, you can see in it, but it's just not that sort of model really. I don't think. I don't want to go mad on the cockpit, so I'll just start on the cockpit. So all these bits we don't need. Which bit needed for the cockpit? I think you do need one part of it. You need that part. So that's about it. All the rest of it we don't need yet. Now we need the little control columns there. Control sticks, joysticks, what are you going to call them? That's that cockpit as well. We need these two bits. I built one of these before, so I kind of know what I'm doing with the cockpit already. As I say, you didn't see that one because yeah, for many reasons it ended up in the what I call file 13, which is the bin. We've got the seats. There's a little front bulkhead there. I don't think there's any more cockpit on there. That's the cover for the undercarriage if having it closed, which I'm not. That's the fuselage sides. That bit goes on the top when it's finished, when it's built. The fuselage halves are together. That's it. So there we go. That's all the cockpit components. It does have a decal on each of the instrument panels, which I'll put on after it's been painted. Just paint this. I think it shows for like an interior grey, which I'll probably do. I might even paint it black. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. You can actually paint it all when it's been assembled. It pays to dry fit this model. It does fit reasonably well, but it's not the best in the world, but it's okay. So I'll get that bit assembled and I'll come back. Okay, glued that bulkhead to there and that bulkhead to there, simple as that. What I tend to do with this is put them in there as a dry fit and then put the other fuselage half on. And make sure it's in the right place, and then glue that into the side there. Put a bit of glue down that side. Just to kind of lock that one in place. It's not vitally necessary, it fits quite well. And then drop some in there. And that's that. Again, you can paint all that with it in that situation, I think. I'm not going to do that yet. So I need to put these bits in. They're a different shape, and that's the one for the back. Again, there's a decal on that control instrument panel there, which you can't see. For the seats, just drop it in there like that. I'll put the seats in after the after the fuselage is joined and everything. They can go in afterwards, there's no point putting them in now. And these are the control column. I'll put them in after I've put the decals on the control panels. So that's that. 2-minute job. Yeah. The decals don't actually fit too well onto these faces at all. They look alright. I'll show you when I've done it. So that's the basic fuselage. That's all you need to do with that. So I need to do 2 of those. I'll be back. Okay, I've added as much lead as it shows for 5 grams of lead to be put in the nose, but you can't get 5 grams of lead in there really. So, well, I don't think you can, because I've measured this. I weighed these bits of lead, which has done some old air rifle pellets I've squashed up, and I've put them in underneath the cockpit area, which is more than 5 grams. As long as it's in front of the rear legs, it should be okay. So that might be enough. I don't know. Anyway, so I'm going to join the fuselage sides at this point because, as I say, I can paint in there later. No, it's not very conventional, but I'm not a conventional builder. I can paint in there quite easily, and I can get the decals in as well. So that's what we're going to do next. So I'm just going to join the fuselage halves. Very simple. Just like this capillary down here. I'm not concerned about the panel lines at all, because I might have mentioned it on other builds I've done, particularly on 1/72 scale models. Panel lines don't show at this scale, really. So I really don't care if they show or not, really. I don't want them to show too much anyway, because I don't like them. But, so basically I'm just going to go around the fuselage and join the halves with doing this. I mean, it will get, when it's painted, it will be painted, sanded and polished, so it will, I'm going to lose some of the lines anyway by doing that. Which in my case, I think it's good. That's basically it. Tamiya extra thin quick setting. Use it for everything. So I'll just let that dry. I'll build the other one. Okay, where we're at the moment, I've just I've cleaned up all the seam lines on the fuselage and stuff, which is okay. And I fitted the lower part of the wing. Now, I don't know if anyone's finished this kit before or built this kit before, but there is quite a fit issue there. It's not a big one, but it's there. There's a step in that edge there. It doesn't fit. You can't sand this face of it to make it fit better, because then this part of the wing won't fit. So you've got to make a decision which bit do you want to fit as a priority, really, and I prefer that to fit well, which it does. It's okay. There's a good join, or reasonably good join on the roots of the wings. I think that one might need a bit of filler. We'll see how it goes, but yeah, it will need a bit of filler, but at least it fits flush to the side of the fuselage. So what we need to do next is just to make sure that that's flush there. What I'm going to do with this is just put all the basic structure on it and prime the living daylights out of it, and see where it stands. I want to get rid of some of these panel lines. I'll not get rid of them, but I certainly want to calm them down a bit, because I think they're a bit too deep for a model of this scale. So that's what we're going to do. So the first job is to make that fit. Now, you can do that in quite a few ways, but if you look at it, there's a bit of a dip in there. So I need to kind of remove plastic from this front leading edge part, this underside of the wing, if you like. and blend it in, then it will need some filler or something in there. So you can't really, you could scrape in there, you could maybe do some of this business, which is quite tedious, so I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is sand it. And I'm not concerned about the panel lines being lost because I don't want them anyway. It's just a case of a bit of patience really, just getting that level. And also I've got to kind of blend in that little bit of a fairing piece there. So it's quite a bit of work there, just because the thing doesn't fit very well. So I'll do that off camera anyway and I'll be back. Okay, blended all the bottom of the fuselage in quite nicely actually. It was quite easy to do. And I've fitted the top half of the wings and stuff. What else have we done? I've added the top piece here. I've drilled out that hole there. So it is an open hole like, with a tube in the middle of it, so I might add an alloy tube in there, yeah, I don't know. So what I need to decide now is how far I want to go with the detail in the cockpit. I did consider having the cockpit open, but to do that, please excuse the cat, to do that I would have to add a considerable amount of detail into the cockpit, which I don't want to do basically, because I don't think it'd take an awful lot of work to do that, and I don't have the parts to do it, because you can put a lot of detail into a 72nd scale cockpit. I mean, Edward for instance do a lot of fantastic PE parts that you can fit in there, but I just don't think they're available for this. There might be, but this isn't really the idea I want to go down with this model. So I think basically the cockpit's going to stay closed, because to cut the canopy anyway I'd need two, which means I'd have to destroy the other one, because you have to cut one so that you've got framework on this part of the canopy and then put on the other. So I'm going to keep it closed, but I will add a little bit of detail because I've looked at some reference photographs, so I might throw them up on the screen now, of this centre console here. It has got quite a lot of instrumentation added on the outside of it, as does the front part as well a little bit, so it does need some work, does that. But I don't want to do that yet because I want to get the framework or the structure of the airframe done first. That's going to need some filler in there. I have considered, because I want to polish this, I want to polish the wing and well, all of it basically. These get in the way a little bit and they are a bit thick, so I might cut those off and make thinner ones and slot them back in. We'll see, I haven't decided yet. So that's it really. I need to let that piece dry there so I can sand that up. I'm going to fit the tail and the air brake. I'll have the air brake closed, and I'm going to prime the whole thing with Tamiya grey primer, rattle primer, and then I'll decide what to do after that. I have also decided just to build one at the moment because there's more work in this than I initially expected, and to build two of them would take a lot more time, and I have other projects I want to do as well, so it'd take too much time to build two of them, I think. So we're just going to do the red and white one, this one, because I think the black one's, as much as it's quite nice, it is a bit bland, whereas this has got a bit of more interest on it in colour wise and stuff, and it's kind of iconic with it being the first one. So we'll do that first. I may build a black one another day, so back in a bit. Right, okay, I've given it it's had more than a coat of primer actually. It's all primed up, sanded up, and as good as it needs to be to start putting down proper paint. Now I lacquered it and I left a bit of, I was painting the Corsair that I'm doing as well, and I left a bit of blue in the airbrush, and I sprayed some lacquer on it and it was blue, so I had to paint over it. So yeah, so it's had another coat of primer, so it's got a coat of primer on top of a coat of lacquer at the moment. It's going to be like granite by the time I've finished with it. I think my tough as old boots is this model. Now I thought I'd do a shout out on the paint I use, just because people do ask sometimes. So for primer I use this, and I just use it out of the rattle tin. It's great stuff. When you put it on, it can look a bit runny sometimes, but it flashes off and dries lovely, and it sands fantastic. And I'm sure it's like using I don't know, well, Mr. Surfacer or whatever. It has a similar effect. I think it is a lacquer based paint as this. So it does smell really bad. I mean, I've I have to do it outside, it's that bad as this stuff. So when that's down, as I say, I'm going to use this colour as the grey for the wings. So what I need to do is lacquer. You can't just, well, I could do a bit of it. I like it to be smooth when I'm putting masking tape down, because it stops you getting bleeds on it. So it's pretty smooth at the moment, is that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to lacquer the grey with this stuff, and this is the lacquer I always use for polishing. It's fantastic paint, is this. I wish I could buy it in larger amounts. This is Tamiya LP9 lacquer based gloss varnish. If you work it out how much this paint costs, when you look at Tamiya paints and how much the stuff costs, per litre it's £125 a litre. So it's nuts, isn't it? And that's based on £2.50 a jar. It does vary depending on where you live and where you buy it from and stuff. £125 a litre, that's extortion, isn't it? But I don't know where else you could buy this stuff anywhere else that's in larger amounts. But I usually buy 6 jars at a time because I go through so much of it. Anyway, we digress. So the next job now is lacquer that. So I'll be back in a bit. Okay, finally got a decent coat of lacquer down. Now, I've lacquered it all over because I want it to be, it's quite shiny underneath there. It's not super shiny, but it's okay. So I've lacquered it all over so I can now get a good purchase with the masking tape. Now what I've decided to do, I'm not going to paint the whole thing white because I just don't need to do it. So I need to mask. I need to paint the top half white basically, and then I've got to accommodate the red and stuff. But before I do all that, I'm just going to give it a basic sand, and I've started doing it on the wings because these wings are staying this colour, as I've said before. So it's just, this is a very worn piece of Tamiya sanding pad, probably 2000 grit or something. Just taking the lumps out of it. Not that there's many lumps there, but I want it super smooth. So it's just a case of going over the whole airframe now and getting it nice and soft. I'm being careful not to go through it. I can't really go through this because it's got so many coats of primer on there, it probably wouldn't ever happen. I'm just taking the shine off it so it's dull, but it's super silky smooth now. I'll try and get a little bit closer. I just need to do that all over. So I don't want to put new paint on top of any imperfections. And this is why it's hard to sand a model with bits stuck out all over the place. I mean, these are bad enough. So, and that's why I've not put the actuator rods on the bottom here. You may have noticed I've sanded off the little turbulators on top of the wing. It's just a sacrifice I'm prepared to make because they're so small, they're just tiny. I looked at some on a Harrier jump jet at a museum once and I measured them on, I think they were the size of my thumb or something. They're so small, they're irrelevant to a model of this scale. I've decided to keep these wing fences because it's just too much work to replace them really. So I'm just going to do this all over and then we'll start putting some masking tape down. Okay, I've put the undercarriage doors on as if it's going to be wheels up, but obviously it isn't going to be like. See, they seem to stay in quite well actually, so I can use them just enough to mask and paint it. Now when I do masking, I did this on the Jet Provost build, I've stopped using masking tape when I want to do an accurate line. I don't ever use it straight off the roll, and I certainly don't use it in big wide strips like this. What I do is get a new blade, and I just cut off the first edge with the blade like so. So that's the edge, throw that piece away. And then all the other edges I'll cut from that one. And when I want to do an accurate line, I don't use big chunky pieces, I use thin pieces like this. They're easier to manipulate. You can cut them even thinner than this. But this is alright for the bit I'm going to show you now. So that piece, I'm just going to mask off along here. They'll probably fall off now, won't they? Anyway, so we're going to mask using these thin strips. Probably just cut that about there somewhere. And it's much easier to manipulate a thin piece of tape like this than it is a big chunky bit. So what I want to do is protect the grey. If you look at the masking on the model, it doesn't really follow the shape of the model in reality. It's on the plan, so I'm just making my own up. Well, this is a very time consuming job, is masking, but it's what makes the model. Getting this right. I'm going to have to do it with tweezers. Now this is the part I find difficult filming, because it's quite a fiddly thing to do. You can end up spending, I spend quite a lot of time repositioning this sort of thing, and I'm conscious it's on film, and it's like, it's going to look boring as this because you're doing it over and over again, repositioning tape and moving it around. So as you can see, it's not always, it doesn't always go straight away, so bear with me. Might start at that end. So when this piece of tape's in place, I'll come back to it. Okay, I've masked off the wings. Just strips, as you were seeing earlier. I just put thin strips on first, then I've filled in the gaps with thicker stuff. Quite an unusual shape on the wing. It's got like a step in it. The air on the top wing doesn't match the bottom. That's the way it's moulded, I'm afraid. I'm not fussed about the bottom anyway. And what I'm going to do now is I need to paint the white on the top half here. I'm pretty confident that the red or the white will cover each other quite well, so I'm not overly concerned about. What I'm going to do is paint most of the top half white and just leave the rest of it grey, and I'll paint the wingtips red. What I'm doing with the canopy, this is the canopy for the other model. I've got two of these kits, as you can tell from the build. I've just blue tacked it in place, and that's enough to mask off that area, and I'll get paint all over that canopy. It's not a problem, obviously. And what I'll do, I'll just clean it off later. I'll chuck it in the ultrasonic cleaner and just let it cook, and it'll wash it all off, and I can use it again later. So that's just an easy way of masking the cockpit at the moment. So the next job now is I'm going to do the white first, and get that down, and I'll get a coat of lacquer on that, and then I'll do the I don't know yet. I'll do the white first, and then I can mask off the white when that's dry, and then do the red, and then do the wingtips at the same time. So we'll see how that goes. Forgot to mention, paint I'm going to use white LP2, which is basically gloss white lacquer paint. This stuff would cover up a black hole. It's amazing. You can paint it on anything, I'll just cover it. Okay, that's the white painted. I'm just going to leave that now, because I need to handle it quite a lot when I mask it, so I'm going to leave it 24 hours actually. You've got to be patient with this game, because if you're just going to mess it up if you touch it and it's got fingerprints all over it. So yeah, that needs leaving 24 hours, then I can mask and do the red. And then we'll go from there. It's not that difficult to mask in this model actually. I thought it'd be a lot harder, but the Jet Provost was a little bit more complex than this one. This is quite easy. So yeah, quite pleased with that. It's gone down really well. Back when it's dry. Okay, white's down, and I've painted the wingtips red because I could. It was just easy to do. Well, I could. Just wanted to see how it went down, and it works fine. So now the job is to paint the red part of the bottom half of the fuselage and underneath and everything. So I've left this paint to dry 24 hours basically, because I'm quite happy to touch this now. I didn't want to risk, there's no point rushing this. So every time I put any paint down, as much as it probably would be dry in a couple of hours really, I was at work anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. So the next job is to paint the red and then just leave that alone as well. So first job is to mask it off, and again using a single line going from the tail right to the nose, and obviously in the right place. So I'm going to cut thin strips of masking tape, and I'll show you that now. Okay, it's just a simple case of getting a thin strip in on each side to emulate this pattern here, and then once you've got this strip established, then just filling it in with thicker tape. It's quite easy. This is a lot easier to mask than the jet provis that I did, because it doesn't have to wrap around the front, which is quite nice. So get it masked up and I'll paint it red. Okay, red's down, masking tape's off. It's gone down quite well really. It's not perfect though. There's a little tiny bleed at the front there. There's a bit of overspray there, which I'll just sand out anyway, polish out. A bit of bleed on where the stupid panel lines are. Do me head in. And there's a tiny little bleed there on that edge there, but they'll all touch in and sand out. So I can't touch this now because it's got to dry now. So I'll just basically again leave it for 24 hours. Then I can start dealing with the tiny oversprays, and then I'll give it a coat of lacquer. Taking the canopy off, I can clean that up again. Then it just needs the black nose coney part painting in there, and that obviously covers this part as well. Then it can get all lacquered up and then deckled, and then away we go. It's going quite well. Okay, a bit of an update. It's all the colours on there now, and it's had a coat of lacquer, and I'll give it a quick polish up and stuff. I wasn't happy with this line down here. It wasn't quite neat enough, so I've done both sides again. I just masked off that area and just touched up the white again. It's a lot better than it was. It wasn't quite straight on this side either, so it's not an easy thing to get square. That it's kind of important that line's good, because you've got a very, very thin black line coming to meet it at this end. I haven't fixed the canopy on, I've just painted it, but I haven't painted the black part of the canopy yet. I haven't decided how to do that yet, but yeah, not so bad. Because I've just touched that up, I can't touch this now, so I've got to let the front end dry again, but it's coming on. Okay, progress made. All the black sun visor area is now painted. It wasn't easy to get this white line right. It's really hard to get a nice point on there. I've done my best with it. I've had to touch it in a little bit with a brush. You can't really tell in video. And once it's been glossed a lot, you won't tell at all. Well, I don't think you'll tell much anyway. I've deckled it up as well. There's not a right lot of decals on this model. I mean, I've put the ones on that I think are necessary. There's one or two little tiny markings. I just don't put them on at this scale, just at the point. There are some more decals to go on the canopy, but I'm doing the canopy as a separate entity. I find the canopy quite a tricky one on this model. It's because it's multicoloured, it's not one colour. So you've got the back end of it white, and then you've got the black part at the front. I just did that with a brush actually, I'm not happy with it though. And then you've got, it has to kind of blend in at the front of there. It needs more work, does that. In fact, it needs considerably more work, does the canopy. And then you've got this like screen inside the canopy itself that glues onto that front part there, and it comes inside it. It's like a fake, it's not a fake windscreen, I suppose it's there for a reason, for the pilot at the back, and that kind of blends into the canopy here, and it has it's like a creamy coloured stripe to it, and I can't work out if that's on the outside of the canopy or the inside. I've looked at quite a few photographs on this, and it's hard to tell really. You know what you do normally, because it does fit quite snug. You paint the pit that fits into there, paint that the cream colour, then put the canopy on the top, and voila, you've got an instant line. But I'm not convinced it's like that, but I don't know, we'll see. I haven't decided what to do with that. But what we need to do now is all the decals are on. It's all marked up, touched up where it needs to be and everything. I just need to wipe it down a little bit, get some glue residue off, and bits of where I've sanded it and polished it a little bit. There's bits of white filler left behind, or residue from the cutting paste. So I'll give it a wash down, and then it's going to get some good old lacquered coats on there. It needs quite a few on this one, just to hide all the decals, and then so I can give it enough depth to sand it, so I can polish it all up. That's when it'll start to pop. So that's the next job. I've done the tail. I've already painted the tail. I'm going to put those on at the end, because there's no reason to put them on at the moment, and they're easier to polish like that. I've also painted the undercarriage doors and everything else that needs painting. Again, they're going at the end, so yeah, get some lacquer on it. I'll be back when that's done. Okay, but it's had a decent coat of lacquer now. Probably about a good 4 coats of lacquer on there, which sounds a lot, but it's not, because it's quite thin when it goes down. And you've got to put enough on there to give it the opportunity to be thick enough to be able to cut it back without going into the paint underneath. So if you start cutting it back and you see pink coming through, that's not good. So I'm having to let that dry quite a lot. It's been dry about for 12 hours now, but it's still not quite. It's alright, but I polished one of the tailplane up, just one of them. Now it don't look a lot different, but it just take all the little imperfections out when you polish them. And it started to just dint a little bit, you know, when you. So it could do with them maybe a bit more, just to dry off. But it's coming on. So the next job is to sand this down, flat it all off, get all any imperfections out of it. I mean, you can't see them on video, but I can see them on the film. To the naked eye, there's tiny little dust specks in it and stuff like that. I mean, you could leave it at that, but I don't want to do that. I want to make it as smooth as I can. And also, when you polish it up, it looks more metal, if you like. It looks like painting metal as opposed to painting plastic when you polish it up. So it looks like you've polished your car. You know, when you go and give your car a good doing over and then polish it up. It looks more like that, really. This just looks like paint on plastic to me. So anyway, so when that's dry, I'll start cutting it back. Okay, start cutting it back now. I've put gloves on because it does help. It doesn't dint the paint like a fingerprint does. It's weird. I don't like wearing gloves on video normally because I think it looks freaky. I noticed quite a few content providers have gloves on when they do stuff, and it just looks like they're a serial killer or something. So I don't like it at all. Anyway, for this case I need to do it. So this is 2000 grit Tamiya sanding pad that's been used. As I've said it before, as soon as you start using this stuff, it loses its edge very quickly. So we're not putting any pressure on here at all, just letting it do the job. And do not put water on it when you could do this, because it'll cut through so quick. You could end up cutting into the colour underneath. We don't want to do that. It doesn't need much, this, because the paint's gone down beautifully. It's dried really nice, so we're just tickling it really. Just take any lumps out. They're coming off those covers. That can come off. Now I'll leave them on now actually, because I don't want to get lead dust in there. So all we're doing is just taking the dust particles out. Any edges, any things that stick out, corners, be very cautious of those as well, because you can cut through them easier, because obviously with them sticking out they're more vulnerable. If in doubt, don't bother doing that bit. So all we're doing is knocking the edge off the shine really. Where there's a decal I am sanding a bit more, so I want to flatten that off so it doesn't so it blends in better. Again, sticky out with it like this, you've got to be careful. That bit there does need a good do because of the decal there. need sanding enough, because you'll notice with the decal it has got a thickness to it. Let's see if I can get a bit closer. Decals have, I don't know how many microns thick they are, but when you paint it gloss and then you start cutting it back, you'll see it all goes flat round the edge of the decal, and then you'll end up with a ring of shiny paint that's still there. So what I do is cut it back until that shiny ring's gone, or at least nearly gone. I mean, most of it has actually. There's still no pink on it, so we're alright. So now you can see that decal has got no edge to it at all. We'll do the same on that one. So I'm going to do all the rest of it. As you can see what I'm doing now. We'll go over the rest of the model and finish that off. Again, this one really needs. I don't think I'm going to cut this back enough. It's quite thick, is this decal? It feels quite intrusive. I'll try it. Alright, it's cut back alright as that. If you get enough coats on, you can do it. You can see now why I haven't put these actuators on, because it would have been so much harder to do. Okay, that's gone now. That decal's disappeared. It's blended in, should I say. Yeah, it's very easy to knock the top off that, what do they call it, flow regulator thingy, whatever. And if that happens, you've either got to live with it or repaint it. I'm very careful on leading edges. That's flatted down quite nicely there. Right, that's enough on film. I'll do the rest of it and I'll come back. Okay, we're starting off. I'm not going to go for the coarse because you don't need it. I'm just going with a fine compound, and then we'll finish off with the finishing compound. Just putting that on a upturned tray, a little container. I'm not going to do it all on video because it'll go out boring. So we're using just a little pad like this. I'll do this wing. It's not hard to do at all. It's just laborious, really. It doesn't take long though, it's quite a quick thing to do. You won't cut through the paint with this stuff. It's pretty safe at this point. Just my dog coming to visit. Just likes to come and check in and see where we are. As you can see, that's all I'm doing basically. So I'll do the rest of it. I'll come back when I've done this, a pass with this particular grade of polish. Okay, it's a decent polish up with the fine. I'm going to go with the finish now and see how that goes. Same routine. I better do this with a cloth though. I just find it a little bit easier sometimes. I've put the old canopy back on. Say the old, it's a different canopy on, just to keep all the polish and stuff out of the cockpit. I'll try this wing. And there goes the cat. It starts to come down the gloss again. I'll just do the bottom part. I'm not going to film all this again because it's quite long now. Can put quite a reasonable amount of pressure on with this last coat because this isn't as coarse in any way, so it won't cut through the paint. Well, that's a general idea. So we're doing that all over and I'll be back when it's done. Okay, things have progressed quite a lot actually since I last did the bit of video. I've jumped the gun quite a lot on the builds because I've not been very well recently, so I've been I couldn't video anything. I'll do this. So it's all been polished up. As you can see, it's quite shiny now. Quite pleased with that result underneath there. I'm really pleased that I didn't fit these first either, and that worked out really well. So I fitted these. These are just push fitted into the slots. They didn't fit very well at all. I should have dry fitted those to see if they did fit, but I wanted to leave them on the sprue so I could paint them. But yeah, they took quite a lot of fiddling to get them to fit in, but the bonus of that is I could make them just push fit into the little slots that they fit into. So they're all sorted now. I've got little bits of other furniture to put on there, but I want to put the undercarriage on first because I can't really put it down because they're quite fragile, these little fins at the back here. So the undercarriage is to go on next. It's all polished up. I might do a little bit more before I finished it, but I've added this is the only bit that's not out of the box. That's a pin. I made the pizza tube out of a pin because the plastic one was just rubbish. I don't like it. So it's just a pin with the point just nipped off at the end to give it more of a pizza tube sort of shape and make it safer. It's like a dart in it. I've put the light on the front as well. That's on there now. And I've added the canopy. The canopy is the Achilles heel of this kit in my opinion, because it fits okay. I mean, I spent quite a lot of time getting the canopy to fit on there before I even started painting any of this. But you can't, I don't know if other people have noticed this when you build models, especially, well, if you're brush painting you'd be fine. But if you fit a canopy on before you start painting the whole model, there's a kind of I don't know what causes it. I've had people say it's static, attracting dust from inside the model, or it's just vapour that gets in there. But if I paint that canopy with it connected to the model, I guarantee there'd be like you'd get dirt inside it that'd show, and it just ruins the model. So you can't paint them with the canopy fitted, or at least I can't. I've never been able to do it without making a ruin in the model. So I've had to paint the canopy off the model and then put it back on. Now the downside to that is you can't blend in the front windscreen as well as I would have liked it to. I mean, I'm being picky, but and with it being black that does help, but I would have preferred to be able to fit the canopy and then fill around this area here, mask it off and then paint it, which you can't do because of the way it's been built. But yeah, it's alright, it's gone okay, but masking it, and then the actual canopy frame is wrong. If you look at Hawks, they have much thicker canopy frames. It's only got a very thin one on the plastic moulding on here. It even shows it on the plan itself, on the colour scheme. It has quite a thick canopy frame. The model it doesn't have that, so you have to put in a fake line there, which is alright, but it's not perfect, is it? As regards this line here, it shows that it's cream on here, and some of them are cream. I've seen them cream coloured. I think the more modern ones are, but if you look at there's a bit I'm just going to get that out of there while I remember. If you look at this particular model, the XX154, it looks more white to me, so I've done it white because it was easier for me to paint it white. I need to get a bit of overspray off there. I'll do it when the paint's dry, so I can just polish it out. The one I've seen it's more white, so I've just done it white. So yeah, the canopy's all done now as far as I'm concerned, as is the rest of it. I just need to add in the undercarriage, some little decals on the side of the canopy. What else is there to go on there? I need to touch in some black bits, like there's some little intake vents there, they need painted in black. A bit of black in those as well. I might put a bit of panel liner into the air guns, and I don't know. I don't know if it needs it really. Undercarriage, as I say, undercarriage doors, and then the jet pipe at the back that needs painting and fitting. And other than that, it's done, and I'm quite pleased with it actually. It's come up nice. The gloss work on it's really come up lovely, especially on the bottom where you can get to it and really polish it well. I need to add on the little you get these little fins that are probably aerials of some sort that need adding in there. I'm going to put those on and paint them in situ. I'll do a brush paint those. I can't do them with an airbrush obviously. I think there's one on the top, I'm not sure. No, there isn't, which is good. There's one on the front there. That's probably not going to happen. I don't think I'm going to be putting that on. And that's it. So once I've got all the bits of furniture and stuff that needs to go on there, I'll show you when it's done. I'll just mention before I go, if I were going to build it again, the canopy wise, I mean I could have done it with this one, but it would have meant adding a lot more detail into the cockpit, and I wanted to keep this out of the box, and I know it isn't quite out of the box because of that pizza tube, but everything else is out of the box. I haven't gone mad on the seat, I've just painted them black and stuck them in there. But I would have cut the canopy and I've made it open, and then I could have fitted it afterwards, and I could have then addressed this problem with the front end here. But on the whole, I'm quite happy with it as it is. I think it's quite a nice representation of the Hawk. So I'll back in a bit. Okay, I'm going to call this done actually. All I've done to kind of I've added the undercarriage. I don't like the undercarriage at all. Well, the undercarriage is okay. The undercarriage doors are hideous. They're too thick. I've done it out of the box, so I didn't want to alter it too much, so this is what you get if you build it out of the box, and I've messed up that leg. I'm going to fix it before I do the finished photographs. I'll have to touch that up. Getting these little legs to fit, these doors to fit onto this leg. Nightmare. But yeah, they're too thick, they look ridiculous. The front ones weren't so bad. They're okay. The actual undercarriage themselves isn't so bad. As I say, it's the doors. But I think this is synonymous to anything on the 1/72 scale. They're so fragile and tiny are the parts that it's quite difficult to get them to fit on. But anyway, that's not the kit. Well, it is the kit's fault, but that's what you get with this sort of kit, isn't it, really? I just put a bit of it's not weathering, is it, but a bit of blackness in those little vents there. I've added a bit of colour into the vents at the front, and I've filled in that bit. I drilled a hole in that, so it's not out of the kit either. I've done the jet pipe, so everything's on it now. It's done. They're quite nice to build though. I still think it's a nice kit, but it's not. It depends what you want to achieve out of it, really. This colour scheme, as much as it's quite it doesn't look much, but it's to get this front end right here. I think I've done a reasonable job on it. It could have been better, but to get that point and that stripe and a nice line on there, very hard to do. It's certainly not a brush painter's model. I don't think it'd look very well. But and as I said, I still need to touch that bit of stuff up there. The canopy. Yeah, again, I don't like how the canopy is. I'd like it in 2 pieces, really. If I was going to do it again, I would consider doing it in flight, and I wouldn't bother with undercarriage at all. And I'd mount it with a rod up the back of the jet pipe. I think that'd look nicer, really. I think it'd suit this quality of model, if you like. It's not a super detailed. It's not like I don't know, an Edward super kit or something, is it? It's just an Airfix $6.99 kit, really. Oh, I need to put a few of the little ancillary bits on, the little antennas and stuff. But yeah, it's done alright. I mean, I've used a different colour to the jet provost I did. It's a different red, it's brighter. I quite like it, actually. It's a lacquer red, is that. I had a bit of bleed on the masking on this wingtip. Again, it's bled into the ridiculously thick panel lines, which that's what happens. But I could have touched them in, but I didn't. And when I fitted this undercarriage leg, it didn't fit into the socket properly, and I put a drill bit in just to drill it out a bit, and ended up drilling right through the wing. So it's not been perfect at this build, but things aren't perfect every time, are they? But on the whole, I think it's quite a nice model. I certainly like the colour scheme. I think it's better than the Red Arrows one, which is just all red. Oh, and I bent that as well. I just knocked it, and that needs gluing back in as well. But yeah, it's come up alright. So I'm going to fix all little bits and pieces on it and stuff, and then I'll take some pictures of it. So I'll try and do those outside on a nice day if I can. But if I can't, I'll have to do it inside. But I need to just let all the little bits on it and stuff dry at the moment, and then when it's done that, I'll fix all the bits that need fixing, and then I'll photograph it. So thanks for watching. I'm not going to do the black one. I've had enough of it. I've had enough of the Hawk. I might do it with undercarriage up, and then that'll be quicker to build, and chuck a pilot in there and stuff. But I've got other things I need to build anyway, so it's not going to happen anytime soon. But yeah, I'd recommend anybody have a go at one of these. They're a nice little kit. But I think it's quite smart. Yeah, it's not accurate though. I mean, I did trim back the rib on the tail. I don't know if that's enough, because I think the newer ones have got more of an angle on there. The seats are wrong. The seats should be a different colour and a different shape as well. But they've just used this kit to cover all bases, haven't they, really? I think this is it's a do-it-all kit, really. But there we go. Anyway, pictures to come.